Welcome to the Andrea Kaye Show. She's blonde, 5'2", and 102 pounds of dynamite in a dress. Here she is, Andrea Kaye.
Good evening. Happy hump day. It is Wednesday, and I am Andrea Kaye, dynamite in a dress, busting through the hype, the hyperbole, and the hypocrisy every night here at 6 p.m. on FM 96.1 in North County, San Diego, AM 1170, on Facebook Live, Twitter, on theanswersandiego.com. And I am super excited tonight because I got somebody back in the studio with me tonight. He was gone for a couple of days, but he's back because you know what? He just couldn't keep away much longer. He had to come back. He's the orange-fingered god of the Andrea Kaye Show and the grease that keeps it going. It's DJ Carrot Sticks.
I'm telling you, nice to be back, ladies and gentlemen. But never duplicated. Duplicated. DJ
Carrot Sticks.
I love this country.
It is very nice to be back. I missed you, AK.
Well, we missed having you. Although I got to give it a shout out to my buddy DJ Potato Skins. He did a good job last night. Yes, he did. He's giving me the wave off. He's in another studio. I'm looking at him. But it's good to have you back. Did you have a good time on your vacay?
Oh, I had a wonderful time. I was up in Carmel, California. It's so beautiful up there. And I have to say, it's nice every once in a while to just unplug from the 24-hour media cycle that we've got, news cycle that we have. But it was nice that when I turned the news back on, that they were still talking about Kavanaugh, which is ridiculous. But it was nice to see that nothing more too bad has happened to to the country in the 2 days that I took a break from the news.
Well, you know, I got to quibble with you a little bit there, my friend. When you say nothing too bad happened just about Kavanaugh, to me, this is absolutely huge what's going on with Kavanaugh. This is the breach in the dam and the water leaking, because this is so huge. This affects every aspect of our country right now from so many different angles, from the rule of law standpoint with due process, from the fact that we've got a Republican Party that seems to be in some ways allowing the left. We've got the deep state and the left refusing to accept the will of the people who elected President Trump and kept a Republican Party in power, refusing to. They're basically trampling the Constitution because they don't want to accept that President Trump won, and they don't want him to allow him, as the president of the United States, a free and fairly elected president, to allow him to do what he is constitutionally granted the right to do. And the Republican Party cannot allow this to happen. I was disturbed today to find out that Grassley, this woman supposedly wanted to be heard. Well, she was given an opportunity to be heard, and then it was no. Well, I don't want to be heard unless I get the FBI to vet him. No, she doesn't get to let the statute of limitations run out and then decide that she gets a whole new legal process specific to her. And Grassley is offering to fly out to California to meet with her and give her some special investigation and special interview. That's ridiculous, Republican Party. No, they need to stand up and do what's right for the American people.
Well, and it's ridiculous, too. They won't even produce the letter that she submitted. She doesn't know the year the party was, where it was, and she's a far-left activist. I mean, it's just so obvious.
Right.
But, you know, like you said, the left is going to use anything they can find to go against something that Trump wants to do.
And the Republican Party needs to stand up to this, because there was an article, I think it was National Review, that's been going around that Bork himself wrote years ago, around the time of the Anita, after he was borked. He wrote it. He said at the time, when he was watching the Anita Hill and Clarence Thomas hearings, saying that the future of our country is at stake. That if this he went on to say, I think at the point I'm gonna have to pull up the article during the break, but he said something like this. If this happens, if they were allowed to stop Clarence Thomas, it would be the end of civilization. And that's kind of where we're at, because this is completely over. This is a coup. This is a coup of our Supreme Court. It's a coup of our Constitution. This is just like the Mueller investigation in many ways. And she is being used as the weapon to do it. This woman is. I was on another radio show out of San Francisco earlier, and
There's a Christian wants to talk about Kavanaugh.
Okay. I was on another radio show earlier, and I said, look, don't tell me this isn't political, because you don't wait 36 years and then decide, oh, well, she was traumatized. That's what everybody's saying. She was traumatized. So it took her all this time to get up her courage. What was so traumatizing? You know, there was, I tell you what's you know what, in spite of the trauma that Elizabeth Smart was put through for 9 months by people that kidnapped her out of her home and raped her and put her through all kinds of emotional and physical and sexual hell for 9 months, she, as a 15 or 16-year-old, was able to confront her accusers in court. This is ridiculous. But if it took her 36 years to get up her courage, then you go to the DA's office. You don't go to Dianne Feinstein. That's a political play. And then you do it supposedly anonymously. That's Antifa. That's an Antifa move. It's all meant to completely politicize. And so shame on the Republicans. They should have not delayed the vote. They should not have rewarded this. The Republicans always do this. We already have now this Me Too movement. It's now ingrained in the lexicon of America. It's ingrained in the mindset of Americans that men now are considered guilty until proven innocent. And it's under the guise of, well, this is such an important lifetime appointment. Well, yeah, it is. But you know what? You know, if it's that important, then, you know, she should have come forward sooner. But it is important, and that's why he was put through how many investigations and security clearances by the FBI. How many people came forward? Every aspect of this man's life was under review. And it's not fair to him and somebody who's dedicated 30-something years of his life professionally, spotless record, to have it be completely destroyed with a baseless allegation that can't be proven. That should not be happening in this country. I'm going to go to the phones real quick. It looks like I've got Christian on the line who wants to chime in. Hi, Christian. Welcome to the Andrea Kaye Show.
Hi, Andrea. Thank you for having me again.
What's on your mind, my friend?
I just wanted to say that, you know, obviously I'm just as infuriated as everyone else is. But I just wanted to point out to all the men in America, you need to be watching the judiciary committees of both the House and the Senate. We already have seen the House Judiciary Committee, the Democrats such as Cohen and Johnson and Gutierrez and Nadler, all advocating for that illegal special counsel to continue. Now we have Senate Judiciary Democrats pegging on and enabling which I call her a fake accuser, because she doesn't know the date or time or place of her assault. She doesn't know how she got to the location of the assault. So many unanswered questions that are coming up that are not being answered. And again, this is the Judiciary Committee of the Senate, both House and Senate Judiciary Democrats, that are railroading a man who is a circuit appeals judge.
Yes.
So now, if you put it into perspective, they went after Trump, who is the president of the United States of America at the executive branch. Now they're going after a circuit appeals judge. So if you think that they are not going to do this to you as a man in America, you got blinders on and you need to check your pulse.
That's right. And let me tell you, this whole movement of men being automatically considered guilty, Hillary Clinton come out today, she deserves the benefit of the doubt. Really? If this woman was accusing a Democrat, Hillary Clinton would be calling her a bimbo, and she'd be offering to help on ways to destroy the bimbos who are coming out and erupting. But let's remind everybody that there are organizations like the Innocence Project. You can go to the Innocence Project's website. The left loves to talk about how we need justice reform for African Americans and minorities who get railroaded with false charges. They have on their website 278 cases that were men that did time on cases that they were innocent and were railroaded, and it was only because of the Innocent Project and their DNA exoneration that these men, some of which served 14, 15, and 20 years. Do we need to remind everybody of the Duke Lacrosse? There are men that have served and given up their lives, and their families been completely destroyed with false accusations. And now we've just opened up the floodgates for that to continue. It not only will continue, we already have a problem problem with this happening in this country in the past. All this has done is make it possible. And this should prove once and for all to everybody out there, man, woman, and child, that the left does not care about truth. They don't care about the rule of law. They only care about power, and they are willing to destroy anybody in order to gain it. Christian, thank you so much for calling in. I got to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation with Dawn Jans, who wrote the book, The Road to Tyranny, because that's absolutely what this is about. There's nothing more tyrannical than trampling our Constitution and the rule of law. One of the things that sets us apart from the rest of the world in our justice system is the due process, that they are only supposed to investigate us after a probable cause and a probable crime has existed, and we are innocent until proven guilty. More Andrea Kaye Show coming up. 888-344-1170 if you'd like to chime in. Welcome back to the Andrea Kaye Show. Glad to have you all here with me. 888-344-1170. Looks like I've got a caller waiting. Jack from Washington is on the line. He's got a comment he wants to make about Kavanaugh. Hi, Jack. Welcome to the Andrea Kaye Show.
Hi, Andrea. I appreciate you taking my call.
Sure. What's on your mind?
What you do.
Thank you.
I would like, they want to bring the FBI into this, and if they do, the only thing that should be brought to the FBI's attention is what laws has this lady and the DNC done from the day that he was put on the list, when our president put him on the list. They need to investigate her emails, her text messages, and investigate everything that she has done since his name was put on the list.
That's a great point, because one of the things that Judge Jeanine Pirro pointed out is that, there should be repercussions for somebody who makes a false allegation. And the fact that her story has shifted. Her attorney came out. She said there were 2 guys there. Then she said there were 4 guys there. Supposedly there was a girl there. And then supposedly the fact that her story didn't jive with her therapist is because the therapist got it wrong. But she can't remember this. She's upset that, her name was mentioned because she tried to do this without telling anybody who she was. I mean, in the words of the great Judge Judy, if it doesn't make sense, it's not true. And there should be repercussions on women who make false accusations, because as I talked about in the open, 200, just the Innocent Project alone, 278 cases of men who were wrongfully imprisoned for rape allegations and rape convictions that they didn't do. This is a real problem in this country. We should not be rewarding women. This movement to have men being guilty until they prove themselves innocent is a real scary place to be in this country, and women should not be allowed to get away with it. And then on top of it, my understanding, Jack, is that the lawyer that he hired is the wife of David Gregory, and her expertise is defamation cases. And I can't think of a greater defamation case than a false accusation meant to destroy his career in this manner. I look forward to him going public and just eviscerating her. I think that the left picked the wrong woman to use as a weapon against Judge Kavanaugh. Thank you so much for calling in, Jack. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Joining me now to discuss this and as well as some recent developments going on, because this is like a parallel. What's going on with Kavanaugh? Kavanaugh is a part of the deep state. It's a part of the corruption. It's a part of the tyranny that's going on from the left to subvert the will of the people. But we still have this Mueller investigation going on. President Trump, has called for the Justice Department to release unredacted all the messages in the unredacted FISA warrant applications. And guess what? They're stonewalling on it. Joining me now to discuss all of this is the man who wrote the book, literally, The Road to Tyranny, my buddy Dawn Jans. Hey, Dawn, welcome back to the show.
Glad to be back, Andrea. So nice to hear from you again. Andrea, we are in dangerous times. Let me just review a couple of minutes. Let's go back over the last 10 to 2 years period. We had unelected bureaucrats go before our elected representatives and mislead, directly lie, commit perjury to our elected representatives, people from the DOJ, people from the IRS. And what happened with those people under the Obama regime is they were praised, they were promoted, and then they were protected for lying and protecting some conspiracy that we now know has been happening. Now, a couple of months ago, we had people from the DOJ and the FBI go before our elected representatives and lie and mislead to them again, saying that if they release those FISA requests, that national security would be violated. And what we find out is no, national security would not have been violated, but there were people within the deep state that would have been exposed. Now we're having these same people tell our president, we're not going to follow your orders because it will violate national security. Well, any reasonable, rational person has to say, no. Well, all you're doing is protecting those individuals in the deep state. We have an absolute deep state conspiracy going on for political purposes, and it is frightening.
It is. And President Trump was once again critical today of Attorney General Jeff Sessions, saying, I have no AG. I don't have an AG. And he's absolutely correct. I put it out there today that, am I the only one that thinks that he should fire Sessions? I think he should fire him today. I think he should have fired him the day he recused himself because it was a complete dereliction of duty. This man is, how can you hand over? You're the attorney general, the top attorney in the country, and you hand over the investigation of the most important investigation in the history of this country to a man who legally cannot be in charge of the investigation because he's a material witness. The second that Jeff Sessions recused himself, he should have been fired. And I think that President Trump has been given a disservice by the Republicans telling him that he couldn't fire Sessions. He should have fired him. I don't even think it makes sense that he wait until past the midterms. Why? People say, well, because he won't be able to get anybody else confirmed. Well, he doesn't have anybody now. There's no reason to keep him there. He needs to. I think he should have already been. In fact, not only does he not have an attorney general, but he's actually got one. Jeff Sessions has allowed the slow walking and the obstruction of justice to go on with Rosenstein and others who are refusing to allow Congress to do what they constitutionally have the right to do, and that is perform oversight. Jeff Sessions, quite frankly, should be investigated for obstruction of justice, not continue to be in his job. And it just makes me so angry that, and I don't get it. I absolutely don't get why Trump doesn't go ahead and fire him.
I don't either. I think Sessions should have been fired at least a year ago. But what we have here, what we have going on is there's definitely people putting political interests above the country. And I want to read something to you, and this is talking about the United States. It's just a couple of sentences. It says, here there exists, speaking about the United States, here there exists no dynasty, no nobility, no standing army beyond the few men keeping watch on the Indians, no bureaucracy with permanent posts or the right to pension. And nevertheless, we find here two great gangs of political speculators who alternatively take possession of the state power and exploit it by the most corrupt means and for the most corrupt end. And the nation is powerless against these two great cartels of politicians who are ostensibly in servant, but in reality dominate and plunder this nation, the United States. That was written by Friedrich Engels. Friedrich Engels is the co-author of the Communist Manifesto, along with Karl Marx. Already then, he saw that their way to having this nation destroyed so that they could rebuild their classless society or the road to tyranny was through people putting politics and personal interests above the nation. That's what's going on. That's
what's going on. And the Republican Party, I'm not buying that they don't know the game that's being played here. For Chuck Grassley to, because the Kavanaugh thing is just it's a parallel track of it. It's the same play. It's the same agenda. In fact, so much about what this woman did is it's like she was Strzok and Page. Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, behind the scenes, trying to, her letter to Dianne Feinstein in the shadows was no different to me than the Steele dossier. It's meant to subvert the will of the people. It's meant to trample the Constitution. It's meant to destroy the confirmation process. And basically, it was a coup attempt this time of the Supreme Court. And, so to see the Republican Party cancel the vote on Thursday, tomorrow we should have a vote for Kavanaugh. We absolutely should. And for Grassley and all these senators to say, well, you know, if you want to come in private or if you want us to come out there to kowtow to them is a huge mistake. They need to get a backbone. They need to stand up for the rule of law, for the Constitution, and for Kavanaugh and for the American people. Don Jans wrote the book about it. It's The Road to Tyranny. Thank you, Don, for being here. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you, Andrea.
All right, so stay tuned because we've got a special guest coming up next on the Andrea Kaye Show. What is populism? You know, that's kind of been a four-letter word here in America for a while, but you know what? Steve Hilton, host of The Next Revolution on Fox News Channel, is actually going to be here to explain what populism really is and that it's positive. It's a good thing for this country. And I'm super excited to have him on the show next. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Andrea Kaye Show. Glad to have you guys here with me. 888-344-1170. I should be speaking in my British accent. When Britain voted for Brexit, I think I spoke in a British accent all day, darling. I delivered scones everywhere I went. Tried to find some clotted cream in San Diego, and I couldn't find anybody anywhere. I was reduced to buying a couple of crappy dry scones from Starbucks, but I was super excited. It still hasn't come to pass yet. Joining me now to talk about that as well as populism. What is populism? I'm so glad he's written a book about it and he's here to explain. It's none other than Steve Hilton, who's host of not only The Next Revolution on Fox News, but he's written a great book called Positive Populism, Revolutionary Ideas to Rebuild Economic Security, Family, and Community in America. Hi, Steve Hilton. Welcome to the Andrea Kaye Show.
It's so great to be with you. I'm going to try and sort of, hype up the British bit of my accent. I've been here 6 years now, so I may be losing a little bit.
Okay. So, populism has kind of been a four-letter word in America for a while. So, a lot of people, they don't really like that word. So what is, and I think in part because not everybody understands what it is and why it can be a good thing for America. What is populism?
Yeah, so I think the main thing that populism has been seen as up till now is something that is against stuff, right? It's against the elites and it's against the rigged system, the rigged economy. It's against bad trade deals. It's against uncontrolled immigration. I agree with all of that. But I think what we really need to do is describe what populism is for, make an argument for the positive case, and to show how it can actually have solutions to deal with some of the problems that have caused this populist rebellion, where people are saying, you know what, we've had enough of the same old politics. It doesn't matter whether it's the establishment Republicans or the establishment Democrats. For election after election, it doesn't seem to matter who you vote for, whoever's in office. It's the same people are in power, the same kind of alliance of big business and big government that look after their interests. They push forward an agenda of globalization and automation, centralization of government and the economy with big companies getting bigger and bigger, uncontrolled immigration. That's been the story for the last few decades, and they've done really well out of it. The ruling class, the people at the top who've pushed that forward, it's been great for them. But for the 80% or so of working Americans, they've really lost out, and they're saying we've had enough. Now, I'm arguing in this book, it's not enough just to focus on a couple of issues like trade or immigration. You've got to have a full plan for how you put power back in the hands of the people so that their interests come first. So really, for me, populism is pro-worker, pro-family, pro-community, and pro-America. And you may hear that and say, well, who's against that? That's kind of a platitude. But actually, if you look at the policies of the last few years, they have not been pro-worker. They haven't helped workers. They've certainly not helped families. Families have been undermined. They've taken power away from communities, and it hasn't been pro-America. It's been a globalist agenda. So actually saying pro-worker, pro-family, pro-community, pro-America, that would be a real change. And the ideas in my book set out how we can achieve that change in a practical way.
Okay, well, let's break it down a little bit. I think the American people began to realize that it was a one-party system, two sides of the same coin, with just some subtle differences back after the Tea Party gave the House of Representatives in 2010 to the Republican Party. Then they said, oh, well, we can't get anything done because we don't have the Senate. So then, in 2014, the Republicans were given both the House and the Senate, and they still couldn't get anything done because they said, President, Obama's just going to veto it. And the American people are like, this isn't smelling right. So in 2016, the American people decided to trust an outsider. They knew that it was become us versus them. So in comes President Trump. And now, we're still seeing the effects of that because President Trump faced two opposition parties going in. However, in spite of that, President Trump has able to turn things around. We have 4.2% GDP, lowest unemployment for African Americans and Hispanics in history. Now we even have 36% approval with African Americans. We've got a 400% increase in small business ownership for minorities. So the American people should see now the benefits of having President Trump, but they're frustrated though, Steve, because what we don't see yet is a return of the government to the people. That's when something
exactly
that President Trump, the most important thing he said to me on the day of the inauguration was, today's the day that I return the government to the people. But we're still not really seeing that.
Exactly, because this is so important, because he doesn't have the allies. He doesn't have the allies in Congress. He doesn't have the allies around him. There isn't a deep bench of people who really understand and believe in the populist movement that can help support him, take power away, take it out of Washington. In the end, he literally can't do it on his own. You know, Congress passes the laws. You've still got a swampy Congress there who want to hang on to all their power, whatever they say. They don't want to devolve power. They don't want to take power away from the federal government and hand it to states and local communities. That's what I argue for in the book. Also, you've got the bureaucracy, the deep state, the permanent civil service. They don't want to give up power either. You've got to elect people, not just to the federal branch, to the federal level, but at the state level and right throughout the system. There are 500,000 elected positions in America. Honestly, we've got to have this populist revolution, get a movement going so we can take power to every single level and take it away and hand it to the people. That's why I think this is just the beginning. President Trump's election is the beginning, not the end. And what we really mustn't allow to happen is at the end of his term, that we just slip back to the same old establishment swampy way of doing things. That would be a disaster.
Well, we've got the midterms coming up in like 50 days. If you're just tuning in, this is the Andrea Kaye Show, and we're talking to Steve Hilton, author of Positive Populism. He's also host of a great show on Fox News, The Next Revolution. So with these midterms coming up, it's astounding to me that with the success President Trump has got economically, that it should even be a question as to whether or not the Republicans are going to hold the House. And I think the reason why it still is because the Republicans still have not in the last 2 years done a good job of fighting the cultural issues that we've got going on in this country. And you can see it happening with this Me Too movement, to where they have managed in the last year to now throw due process out the window, and men are now considered guilty until proven innocent. And, they've destroyed the family. We see this going on. Yep. They took over our schools, our media, and the entertainment industry, and we have just ceded so much ground in the cultural area. What's your ideas for how we can fight that?
Well, yeah, and I'd add one other thing to that in terms of why that great record isn't translating right now into political success, although it's still a long way to go till the elections. And so, let's not assume anything at this point. It can still change a lot when people realize the stakes in November. But the Russia thing, I'd add that to it as well. This whole ridiculous nonsense about Russia electing President Trump and everything that goes with it, they've engineered that. That's basically all they talk about. And, of course, that consumes the energy of the government, of the president, distracts from actual real accomplishments that affect real people. So that's another thing that's getting in the way of people understanding the progress that's been made. But in terms of what we can do about it, I mean, this is why I've written the book. I mean, it's actually an ideas book. It's full of positive plans. People who read it won't agree with everything in it, but that's the whole point, right? Let's start a conversation. What do we do? What's the populist idea when it comes to schools? That's such an important part. You talked about culture. You're quite right. The way that kids are being indoctrinated in their school, because we've got this monopoly, this government monopoly of schools, where you have this factory school system, which is totally failing to prepare our kids for the 21st century in terms of the kinds of jobs and careers that are going to be available. And on top of that, you've got this cultural indoctrination going on, where you've just got one view expressed and there's no diversity and so on. So, for example, I'm arguing in my book for total school choice, not just one or two charter schools as an addition just on the side of the sort of mainstream public school system, but to break the whole thing open, take the government out of running schools and providing education entirely, and have a completely open marketplace where you get innovation into the schools, where parents can set up schools and entrepreneurs and social enterprises to experiment. You're seeing that happen, by the way, in the private sector. The rich, the elite, they're rethinking education for their kids. It's just that everyone else has to suffer with the factory school system in the public schools that was designed in the 19th century. So that's a great example of where we won't really talk about schools when we think about populism, but there's a populist way of reforming schools, just as there is with healthcare and so many other things, and reducing the corruption in our government, making it more local, more accountable. My book is full of each one of these issues. What is the populist way of dealing with it? What's the positive answer that will help put the interests of working people and families first?
Well, how can we, what's the positive populist answer to not becoming Londonistan and not going the way of Europe and what's happened with the multicultural disaster and the open borders with family reunification?
Totally right.
And what's the solution here? Because, if we say that we want to enforce our immigration laws and we don't want to bring people here from terrorist infested countries, because there's no way for us to know whether or not somebody is, a radical who's going to want to, drive their truck over people or not. What's the solution for that?
Well, there's two parts. So first of all, you've got to control immigration. At the moment, it's a complete free-for-all, basically. Anyone who wants to come here can just basically do so, and there's no impediment to that. But there's another really important word that is left out of this conversation about immigration, and that's integration. We have to insist on integration. If you come to this country, look, I'm pro-immigration. I'm an immigrant twice over. My parents are Hungarian, and so they fled from communism in Hungary, and I was born in the UK, and I'm forever grateful for that opportunity. And now, with my family, I'm an immigrant here in America, so I'm pro-immigration, but it's got to be done the right way, and it's got to be controlled. But really, what I understand now, living in America, where I just love being here, I love everything about this country, the more I learn about America, the more I love America. I took my boys to the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia. It was an incredibly moving moment to learn about the founding and the Declaration and the period that led to the writing of the Constitution, all those incredible debates and the wisdom that is contained there. You've got to love America if you come here. You've got to sign up to the values of this country. You don't come here and then bring with you and insist on maintaining the things that belong in a different place. And that is exactly, as you say, what's happened in Europe with multiculturalism. And we mustn't let that happen here. We've got to insist on people speaking English, becoming part of our culture, the melting pot. That's really so important.
Yes, because there is an American culture. There is a reason why this country, based upon its principles of individual liberty, free markets, and individual accountability, this is not an entitlement society. It's about individual liberty and responsibility, that our rights come from God, not man. There's a reason why we are the country that has, you look at every technological advancement that's happened around the world, it pretty much came from us, from flight, the light bulb, electricity, the automobile, the computer, on and on and on. And, that needs to be preserved, this American culture of entrepreneurship, of drive, and of ambition. We had a story of a woman the other day that they refused to serve her at a Taco Bell or somewhere in Florida because, she didn't speak Spanish. It's like, if you want to come to this country, come here legally and you assimilate into our culture. Don't come here. No hobbly takeover. Don't come to my country and try to turn it into Tijuana. No, that's not right. We don't go to other countries and try to turn it into America. If I move to Paris, I'm going to learn French or reestablish myself in French because I studied it for years. I wish I had more time with you. I do want to give you like 30 seconds to kind of wrap it up. It's Steve Hilton, and the book is Positive Populism.
One thing I just want to add is that it's really important we build this into a long-lasting, a deep movement. And if anyone is interested in the ideas, go to positivepopulism.org. You can buy the book there, but equally sign up, join the movement. We can just get together. You don't know where it's going to end. You can start with a small group of people. We can grow and grow and grow and make sure this is a lasting change for our country.
I'm so glad you said that, because I love that people are engaged and listening to my shows and watching your TV show and others. But we got to get out. We got to energize, mobilize, and activate. We have got to get involved. If we want our government to be back in the hands of the people, then we need to take it. And that means getting active. That means understanding the issues, understanding ideas and solutions that will work, and then getting out there and helping to make it happen and organize. Steve Hilton, thank you so much for being here. Such an honor to have you.
Thank you. It was a great pleasure. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. All right, now we're going to take a skinny little break. But don't go anywhere, because we got more Andrea Kaye Show coming up. Hey, did you guys see that Oceanside Vicky Barbalak? She did her final act, right, in America's Got Talent.
Yes, I voted for her yesterday.
Yeah, so
the results will come out tonight. By the end of the show, we might know.
Ooh, I hope so. All right, now stay tuned. More Andrea Kaye Show coming up.
Find out how hard I gotta work ya. It's chirping and it's when yippa. It's chirping and it's when yippa. I like to get to know you. show you. Put a hurting on you like I told you. Give me all your numbers so I can phone you. You girl that stick, then call me over. Not on the bed, lay me on your sofa.
Do y'all recognize that? That's my girl, the Funky White Sister. DJ Carrot Sticks actually found it. Y'all know that I love rap, especially 90s gangster rap. And so DJ Carrot Sticks found this video of this lady that went viral at a trailer park doing a little bit of Missy Elliott's rap song Work It. So I guess Ellen DeGeneres had her on her show the other day and had her start to do a rap, and then out came Missy Elliott. And you know what? If you guys haven't seen it, DJ Carrot Sticks posted on my Facebook page. If you guys need a laugh, man, she is so charming, hilarious. It just never gets old watching her. Were you going to say something?
No, we got limited time.
Okay. Yeah, we do have limited time, and but we got some good news that we got to share. Tremendous movement going on with North Korea, but what has the left successfully done using this woman, Dr. Ford, the one whose students said she was dark, angry, scary, and troubled? Which I said last night, by the way, DJ Carrot Sticks. That's the perfect name for like a liberal feminazi girl band, by the way. They've managed to completely dominate the news cycle. In fact, there was some great news, by the way. I guess North Korea and South Korea, those two got together and had a summit during which North Korea announced, Kim Jong-un announced that they're going to basically honor commitments that were previously made. He's going to allow experts, North Korea says, to watch the closure of its missile engine testing site and launch pad at Dongchang-ri, Moon said at a joint news conference. I'm reading an article here from Reuters. North Korea will also take additional steps such as closing its main Yongbyon nuclear complex if the United States undertook unspecified reciprocal measures. So this is movement. This is a good thing. Now, of course, they still have some other sites. But Pompeo is excited about this, and and has invited Pyongyang's representatives to meet the U.S. Special Rep for North Korea in Vienna at the earliest opportunity. So basically, this is movement, and we understand that we can't completely trust a NOCO, but here's we've gotten 3 prisoners back that were held, and we got them back without having them be comatose and having had their teeth rearranged and, basically brain dead, which is what happened under President Obama's watch. And we haven't had any tests. We haven't had any missiles launched in our direction. So we are safer today than we were. So we'll see. We're going to continue to watch this and see what happens with, Pompeo going forward in the continued negotiations. I think that, really... at this time under the Obama administration, we had, I can't remember, maybe DJ Carrot Sticks can Google real quick. How soon was it in which we had the entire Middle East erupting and wars breaking out everywhere from what was supposed to be, the Arab Spring, which ended up really being a radical Islamic takeover. Not just happening in Egypt, but of course culminating in the Fast and Furious of the Middle East, which resulted in, as we know, 4 Americans being killed in a terrorist attack. And the terrorist attack in Benghazi happened in 2012, 4 years into Obama's presidency. But we had terrorist attacks fairly early into the Obama administration in 2009. I think Fort Hood was in 2009. We had the Boston bombing going on. We had Pulse nightclub. We have been safer in the last 2 years, in the first 2 years, almost 2 years of the President Trump presidency than in the first 2 years of Obama.
So the Arab Spring started about a year after Obama took office.
Yeah. And so, I knew people. I had people, an old college roommate of mine whose husband was in the Air Force, and he was attached to the U.S. Embassy there, that had to be flown out under threat of night. I mean, who remembers what happened in Egypt and how that country was turned upside down? Mubarak was taken out. We were led to believe that that was going to be a good thing for the safety and the security of not just America and the world. What ended up happening? The United States of America, with John McCain's help, by the way, ended up ushering in the Muslim Brotherhood taking over control of Egypt, where we had Christians being slaughtered and crucified, including children, churches burned to the ground. Then we had it spreading. We had Tunisia. Then we had Libya. What did we benefit from that? We are much safer today under President Trump. You have to understand your enemies have to fear you. They have to believe that you are going to pull the trigger. And then, of course, we had everything that happened in Syria going on. We are much safer today. And while all that was going on, we had terrorist attacks happening here in our country. So we're not as safe as I would like to be because we don't have the immigration plan in place. We don't have our border secured. We still have too many refugees coming into this country. But I feel like President Trump has made a lot of progress in terms of keeping us safe. And look at what he inherited. He inherited that Middle East completely under Islamic control and burning up everywhere, issues everywhere, as well as the Afghanistan war that was Obama's war in Iraq. That whole area, a mess. He inherited that. He inherited a mess with North Korea. He inherited an economic mess. And look where we're at. We're much better off today than we were. We'll see what happens. I'm still curious what's going to happen with this Kavanaugh thing. Tomorrow was supposed to be the vote. I think Grassley had issued, if Ford is going to come public and speak before them, she was given a deadline in terms of giving a statement and agreeing to be interviewed. That deadline, I believe, is Friday morning. So far, she has yet to agree to come forward. So, I think that what we might see, I'm going to continue. I want the conversation to continue rolling with you guys on whether or not you think Kavanaugh will be confirmed. Follow me on Twitter and follow me on Facebook. But if she doesn't by tomorrow agree to go public and get her statement in, then I think that we need to support the Republican Party. We need to push them. We need to get on the phone with Flake and Corker and Collins. Those are the three that supposedly need a push to confirm Kavanaugh and to issue a statement of support. DJ Potato Skin, he says the skin of the week, confirm Kavanaugh. GOP, you need to back your back your president, period. And we need to put the pressure on Collins, on Flake, on Corker, and on Grassley and all of them. Thanks for being here. Love you all. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you, DJ Carrot Sticks, for being back in the house.